Hey, music fans! There are some great concerts headed this way. Don't miss out on all the shows in your favorite venues like Deftones at Madison Square Garden, Eagles at the Sphere, and Foster the People at the Ryman Auditorium. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Head to LiveNation.com to get your tickets now. That's LiveNation.com.
Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience in their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's Libsyn, ads.com today.
You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever, with your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lou Need, and today I have the honor of introducing a very special guest to the show, Luc-Rikardo. Now, he is a Navy vet, first in his family to graduate from college, work as a communications officer for several organizations, a Washington State Senate, and Archdiocese of Seattle. Now he leads the fitness app called DomumGym since 2021. And his logic is quite unique in the way that he is encompassing a holistic approach to the app. We're talking about mental health. We're talking about physical fitness, like you name it, even health. I think some nutritional aspect of it, but I'm so thrilled to have this man onto the show because he is a phenomenal gentleman and he's going to share with us why fitness, how he got into it, and his mission and passion for this. So with no further ado, Luc, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Doctor, for having me. I'm super happy to be here, and those are extremely kind words. I don't know if I would have used all those kind words for myself, but that was really sweet of you. So thank you once again, Doctor, for having me.
Oh, it is my pleasure. I really am in of the things that you are doing over with the app, and it's coming out and launching, and you're growing significantly too, just like having people pre-orders, people signing up on the app already. So let's talk about briefly, I know you have your background in the Navy and you've worked for several organizations. Let's talk about a little bit about your journey. What got you here thus far?
All righty. So I guess, starting off, I graduated from college, from the University of Dayton, class 2012, Go Flyers, over in Dayton, Ohio. And, toward the end of my college experience, I was wondering what exactly would I want to do? Would I want to go into sports broadcasting, which was my original goal and passion, and I still am a big fan of sports, or would I like to go and do a life of service? And it's funny, going to a private Catholic school, a lot of the kids I knew, a lot of them, when they thought of life of service, it was like being a missionary, doing something with the church. For me, I was like, I mean, that sounds cool and all, but that doesn't really speak to me. I want to be like, to borrow a line from an action movie, I want to be where the action is, So I decided, and especially, my great love of this country, being the first person between my mom and my dad for our family born in America. They're originally from Haiti, like wanting to serve this country, seeing all the beautiful things that I see with it. I decided, you know what, I'm going to join the Navy. So right after I graduated from college, about a year after that, I joined the Navy. I spent most of my 20s there. And through that experience, I ended up away from the East Coast, where I was born and raised, on the West Coast, up in the Pacific Northwest, where I ended up meeting my wife, who's my rock, my everything. And, eventually we got married. Eventually we had a beautiful little girl. And eventually, after I left the Navy, active duty first, honorably discharged back in 2018. And we moved back up here to the Pacific Northwest after being down in San Diego. I kind of wanted to see the different things I could do with my communications degree. And it worked for a startup. Then I worked for those other organizations you mentioned, and still feeling like I was doing a good bit of service, but also noticing things that were kind of missing from our lives that we had in the Navy, and things that my wife wanted to be a part of her life. Now, I was still in the Navy on the reserve side, but even then it didn't feel like it was the same when it came to fitness. And then especially with my wife, she brought it up, and it happened to be right around the time of COVID, as a matter of fact, which is also right around the time when my daughter was born in 2018. So a couple of years after that fitness, it needs to be a part of our lives still somehow. And especially my wife wanting it to be a part of her life, where she never been in a situation where it was like ardently pointed to her that need to be a part of her life. So she intuitively knows it, but just finding the time, finding the comfort level, finding a place where she feels like she belongs, and then also finding something that speaks to her values. So with all of that led me to thinking, why don't I end up creating a fitness app, after, experience at the gym, experience of working out together as a couple, experience of working out together via fitness with apps, a whole bunch of other stuff. And then a couple of years after that, so coming to this year, at the beginning of this year, I met with my team. I assembled a whole bunch of people. For the longest time, it was me. Then I brought in a couple of folks who I met via several different startup incubator affiliated programs. That became my co-founding team. And we eventually began to realize that fitness, it can't just be this. So for those of you on the podcast who are just listening to it, I just pointed to my biceps, which aren't all that big. I wish they were. They can't be that. It also has to be, nutrition, and also has to be your brain too. Right. And I'm talking to a doctor, so there's no better person to talk to about that in terms of intellect as well. So that led us to thinking mental health is what I mean by your brain, putting all that together, treating that as all one and complete area of fitness. And that is how DomumGym was born.
Wow. It's fascinating to always hear the backstory leading to the growth and to finding your purpose, essentially, right? So you and I share the same background. We're Haitian. And so our parents, for them, I know for mine specifically, is like coming to America was that you've made it, the land of opportunity, and get a job and work 40 hours and be happy. For you joined the military, but you felt the need to serve because, in our culture, serving is ministry work. And that's really as far as going, the entrepreneurial aspect of it is not really ingrained at an earlier age. So for you found it, you wanted to do something different. You wanted to help in a different way. And then fitness was your chosen path. So talk to us about what it means to actually live in your purpose, find your purpose, and how that is different from just the daily grind of just, a 9-to-5.
Yeah. So it's funny, a lot of people I've talked to, and then not just, with Haitian families, but a lot of other families as well, is that it's like kind of the traditional way of doing things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because there is wisdom to it. Having a steady job, having a steady paycheck, having a roof over your head, raising your family, Yeah. But also too, the other thing is that there are things out there where we feel that we can make a true contribution to the world, a true impact, and not just a true impact, but changing the lives of many people. And that is possible in a 9-to-5. Someone's worked 9-to-5s, as someone who's, been on both the white collar side and the blue collar side too. And especially coming from a blue collar black background with my family, that is something that you can do. My daddy was a truck driver, may he rest in peace. But when he delivered something, it could have been, I remember I was on one of his routes one time because he had to pick me up from school or something, or I picked my mom or whatever. But we went to a hospital and he had to pick up something. And then he had to deliver that thing to another hospital. That shows that, hey, yeah, that's a 9-to-5 grinding job. Nonetheless, that delivery, it helped those doctors, you being a doctor yourself, and it helped those patients in that hospital somehow, that helps someone's life change for the better, even with it being a 9 to 5, But then there's also the stuff is, what if we can create something that can help make that better, And forgive me, this is the tech guy in me talking. I'm not saying that, I'm advocating for this type of business to exist, although it'd be really cool. But the science and the tech we have now will make it very hard. But like, if you had that one doctor or that one hospital administrator who starts their own startup and they're like, I'm going to invent a teleportation device because, that teleportation device would take out that delivery route. It would help transport that organ, that device, whatever, from one hospital to the next instantaneously, which could help end up saving a person's life. And that's kind of why us entrepreneurs, why we do what we do. You have your own amazing product that you've been telling me about. And I hope you talk about it too in this podcast. That's going to help so many babies, making lives easier for them. Of course, I've got my app, DomumGym, trying to make it easier for millions, potentially billions of women around the world to work out and to fulfill their mental health needs and their nutritional needs on their schedule, and all in some cutting edge ways, features and all that speak to the family values, that they're looking for. Like, that's, again, going back to your original question, why we do what we do, trying to find something to make it easier for a lot of people. So they don't have to do, hearing the trainers and the wellness professionals, their stories. And it's kind of, I'm trying to find a better word than sad and heartbreaking, but I remember recruiting trainers earlier, a couple of years ago, this is right after the pandemic ends, or rather right after year 2020. And then some of them talk about, hey, I had a gym, and because of the pandemic, because of the lockdowns, my gym shut down. And it's like, well, where do I go from here? And, wanting to be that resource that can help them. That's something that also drives me so much. And also hearing from our other people who brought on board, like our wellness professionals, mental health folks, some of the organizations they worked for. And then, they obviously haven't told me any private circumstances with their with the folks they've counseled, but they've talked about the areas they've specialized in, and like the most serious, heartbreaking stuff imaginable, and being that one person who can be there to listen to you and hear you out through life's greatest struggles. Like, those are the things that inspire me, where I'm like, how can you not want to help these people?
That's
help
good.
Them, put them in the best position to succeed. And same thing with our customers on the other end, helping them become the best possible people that they can be.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that I can totally resonate with that. Let's look at how, the importance of fitness. We all know about it. We live longer, longevity, energy, being able to play with your kids, being able to, run after them. All that is a benefit of it. And in the mental health as well, is being able to show up your best self. Let's talk about how the government is playing a role into that. How is the government promoting fitness and the need?
Well, the good news is they've been doing it for most of our lives. I know that every president has had a presidential commission on health and fitness, at least as long as we've both been alive. And they've had celebrities lead that and all that. And then you have different first ladies and other people who have, promoted fitness. I think Michelle Obama was one of them who did it. So that was a couple presidents ago, but nonetheless, that's one thing they've done. And then also promoting nutritional standards. I know that that's kind of upgraded since we were children. And then it's something that I try to remember now as a 33-year-old man to try to follow because, hey, again, like you said, the healthier you are, the longer you'll live. And it's funny, there are so many different things the government's doing. And they've also, certain governments, by that, I don't just mean the federal level, which I've kind of based my answer on, but also on the local and state level too, who want to partner with different organizations, such as apps like ours, to provide this broad wellness app usage. And I know I've spoken with a couple here in the Seattle area that are interested, and they really want their workers, their employees, to have something that'll make them healthy. And obviously, their interests are a little bit different than ours regarding our companies focusing on the family. Theirs more focused on the employee, wanting the employee to be healthy and to be very, very little circumstances where they're going to get sick.
Yeah, and I can see the benefit of that. That way they can show up. If you have a happy person, they're going to be happy in all areas of their life. They're going to show up to be more productive. And so I can see the need for employers to actually want to incorporate that. It's kind of part of this work-life balance notion, which I honestly don't think it really exists. It's almost like prioritizing, making the time for your fitness, making the time so when you are at work, you are 100% there. You know what I mean? And so I could definitely see that. And for you, focusing on the family, the unit, because that's the first organization you're part of, right? And if you can get that organization to be strong and grow together, be healthy, then we are changing the world in a way. So let's talk about how we can get kids to be more involved. I know the notion, like if they, kids watch what you do versus what you say. So I can totally see that in your business model in terms of incorporating and getting children to get off from the screen, get away from the television, get away from the social media scrolling and get more active. So talk about that a little more.
Sure. So we've got our beautiful 4-year-old girl, and it's funny when we work out, my wife and I, our daughter, she is following along with us, and she's trying to copy. And it's funny when she was a little younger, and when we did it together, you won't believe this, but guess what, Lunid?
What? She tried to do it.
She didn't get tired, which was insane. We were like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. And we're watching a video on YouTube. This is before DomumGym. We've really, really changed the app. So it was when it was in its very, very, very rudimentary stage. We're watching videos on YouTube, and we're trying to work out. And my wife is saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to kill someone." And then our daughter, she's just like, "Wee," and she's doing it without stopping. And I'm like, man, I wish I still had that energy, but my bones and my energy, the rest of it just won't allow it, So that's something where, it instills in children when they see you do it, especially at a young age, that, hey, they can do it too. And not only will they do it, but they'll love doing it and they'll continue to do it, hopefully throughout their lives. So that's where I think it'll be super awesome whenever they see this. And then the great thing with our app, compared to other apps, we don't require much equipment, which is awesome. It's really body weight. That's really what, maybe if you need a kettlebell, maybe a dumbbell, maybe a yoga mat, but really that's it. Basically, all you need really is you. And your children seeing that, they'll be like, hey, I can do that too. Mm-hmm. If they try to pick up a kettlebell, that'll be a problem. But if there isn't one there and they're just watching one of our trainers just doing a body weight exercise, I can do this, no sweat. So that's super awesome about what that provides, compared to a lot of other places too. And then the other thing I should add is one of the things we'll have on this, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, Doctor, but we have this thing on our app where it works when we're live streaming. It's going to be a little bit like Zoom. So in that sense, you'll be able to see the trainer will be able to see you. You'll be able to see the other clients, the other users will be able to see you. And then you'll all be able to see the trainer. So you'll all be working out together, and the trainer will be able to encourage people, correct their form. And then the fact we have small class sizes, it'll really encourage community, and also people really, really forming great bonds with each other. Because that's the most important things that I've discovered these past years, speaking with personal trainers, forming that bond, forming that connection, brothers and sisters in arms, and people are going to stay. So that's proven to work. So that is something that I'm super excited about. And then when it comes to the kids, don't know if we necessarily can do that just yet, because, in terms of laws and stuff, that gets really icky. And of course, people want to keep their children as safe as possible. But in terms of other things, like I just talked about, the live streaming, the kids following along to their mommies, working out, or, some of the other things, those are things that obviously we can definitely do. And I know that that's something that's is going to really look and make us live out what we want to be, a family-friendly, holistic fitness and mental health platform.
Yeah, and that actually segues into the features of DomumGym, because you are unique in that way because you're having live sessions, with the trainers. That's why you have to tell us about the different individuals that are on there, because I know you have therapists, you have trainers, nutritionists. Like, tell us who is on the app and how it is set up, because you do have live classes, which is unique because instead of just watching a YouTube video.
Right. So, of course, live streaming has existed for a while. I'm not going to say time immemorial because, we both can remember a day when Facebook didn't even exist. So I wouldn't say that that's exactly the case. But what you have now with a great deal of the brands, not just fitness apps, and mental health, but let's just expand it to apps in general. YouTube, Facebook, I think Twitter does this too now. I could be wrong, but you've got live streaming, right? But you're not really able to incorporate people into live streaming for one reason or another, unless they're a host or something like that. You sometimes have to do some, what's the word? You got to have to do some tech magic, basically, to enable that to happen. So with us, what we've discovered is you can have live streaming on the app, but also have people participate in it. So users, trainers, what have you. So that's really cool. And that same tech enables us to also do one-on-one calls as well. So when a nutritionist or a mental health specialist comes on board and counsels somebody, they'll be able to have that one-on-one call. So that's what we're able to do, which is really neat. The other thing too is you can only, the old way we used to do it, we were a lot like YouTube, right? And a lot of people said, you guys are a lot like YouTube. What's the difference? So bringing on board my team at the beginning of this year, changing things around. The new way we're doing it, in addition to the new feature I just told you about, is the other fact too, that you have to create a profile to be on the app. You can't just freely go in there like before. And then you have to subscribe to someone in order to, use their services, whether they're a trainer and watch their videos. And you can still watch pre-recorded videos. You're not able to make the live stream, or to do the live stream sessions. And then the same thing with mental health therapists and nutritionists too. Only difference is it's going to be a one-on-one session with those. And then the other thing too is you subscribe to them. Cool thing. They'll be able to access your user dashboard. So they'll be able to see a doctor, especially if you've been able to attend their classes. If you haven't been able to attend their classes, what goals you're working on, all the fitness stuff you're doing. And we'll also be able to grant you rewards, several things that make it super exciting. And also that will encourage you to just stay on the app too. Because one of the biggest things, in addition to, forming that bond, forming that community, especially between trainer and user, is also consistency. Consistency is one of the other things that we've heard for a couple of years, especially when I brought my team on board earlier this year, where it's like, I want to work out. I know it's important, but the whole thing is being consistent. You lose interest, you don't feel motivated, all of that. By the fact that your trainer can access your user dashboard personally, they'll be able to see all of your progress and some of your missteps, and they'll be able to message you personally and encourage you. Be your biggest champion, not just to stay with us, but to also stay with your fitness goals, and eventually really having that awesome, amazing physical fitness change and other changes too that you're looking for.
That's amazing. Yeah, that really is unique within itself. And I love that you incorporated all that, the mental health and the nutrition and the fitness and the life. That's cool. And tell us about how you're using AI to facilitate all this, if at all.
So we would love to use AI, but, we are a startup. So that is one of the things where, we'll get to that pretty soon. But for right now, we're kind of focusing on the stuff that we have. And with the stuff that we have, it's a great deal.
Yeah.
We eventually plan on using AI for several different things, whether that's, to show you, hey, you stick with us, and this is what your transformation will look like in the future. Or
yeah, that's cool.
Like, hey, how are you feeling today? Here are the things you can do to help yourself. And then, of course, we are looking to add in the immediate future. These are things we don't have to build out. We can simply go and real quick sojourn, doctor, is that, this past week, I did Startup Week Tacoma, Seattle area. I made a presentation live in person about DomumGym. And I also met with other companies as you probably can imagine, this sure is happening down in San Diego as well, because San Diego is also a mini tech hub, is there are like AI companies sprouting all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And I met several amazing men who are creating AI companies themselves. And I'll save this for the end of the podcast. One of them, he actually told me that his daughter, she would love for DomumGym to exist. She's around our age, and she works for a big tech giant, and she's incredibly stressed. And he's like, this is something that she would love because she needs it. But anyways, going back to what I was saying about AI. So the fact that there are so many different ones that exist, we can simply go to them and ask to use their services, and then we just pop that in as a widget on our app.
Yeah, partnerships sounds like an ideal way to go about it. Yeah.
Simple things like help support, leaving us a message, us personally, as in the app, not the trainers or the other one. And other things like that will be like the things that we kind of can do right now. Some of them as just essentially do it for free. But in terms of the other things that we like to build in-house, we need a couple of months to do that. We also need to make sure we launch our thing right. And best way to do that, of course, like PBS, through viewers and supporters like you. So, the more that, we grow, people come on board, listeners, folks listening come on board, the more that'll help us invest toward these resources.
Very nice. Now let's talk about, I know you have the app. Let's talk about your morning routine. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
Oh, very, very, very good. So it usually depends on the day, but on most days, here's kind of what I do. I usually wake up and I try to make my bed in the morning. There's this, not old, it was released within the last 20 years or so, but this book, I think it was by the SEAL commander, who's an admiral, and I think he's retired, of the guy who was in charge of the bin Laden raid that took out Osama bin Laden. And this is going to sound like a very Navy answer, but basically the name of the book was Get Up and Make Your Bed. And, I haven't had a chance to read that book, but I took into words that advice, right? So I try to make my bed every single morning. And I try obviously not to disturb my wife, who's still asleep, but I try to make it my side of the bed. And then when she gets out of bed and wakes up for the day, I try to make that up. Then, when it comes to our little girl, she just started school. I try to always, answer my emails. And then, after 30 minutes or so, I turn on our bath. I fill it with the bubble bath and then all the little toys that, little kids like, the rubber duckies and all that. and then I try to wake up my daughter, which is usually, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a struggle, but, you've got a kid, doctor, you understand that waking them up sometimes it can be like begging them to eat vegetables. So, I usually am successful in that after about 5 minutes, get her into the bath. She's playing. I go back to work. And then after that, 30 minutes later, if I don't have anything to do, any other interviews or anything like that, or answering emails, responses, I usually go back to my daughter. I let her know that her clothes are on the bed. She can get dressed. I ask her what she wants for breakfast. I get her breakfast. I make sure that she has her breakfast ready. And then I usually try to brush her hair. Well, actually, it's more like comb her hair. But yeah, I comb her hair in the specific way my wife showed me.
What about the some of the mental stuff that you do to help you show up, right? So meditating, what are some of the stuff that you're consuming to, as an entrepreneur, we have to do the work ourselves, right? Mentally, staying physically fit, staying mentally alert. What about some of that stuff for you to help you show up for your daughter, to help you show up for your team and your wife?
Oh, good question. So, I kind of left that part out, but usually it's in the morning. I try to get myself either coffee, because I know that'll instantly make me wake up, energized, and I should mention it's not as often as you think, or Red Bull, which I know will instantly energize me and wake me up. And then in terms of like the mental stuff, the spiritual stuff, one of the things I always do is, I kind of follow, again, going from history. I think of something that it was either President Lincoln said this, or it was John Wooden who said this, the great UCLA basketball head coach who coached UCLA all those years ago. But anyways, say that failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So some of those things I don't really make a part of my morning unless I'm really, really worried. Usually I make them a part of my evening right before I go to bed. So I pray, before I go to bed. Actually, I pray twice. One prayer for some of the things I'm thinking about. And then actually, no, I pray 3 times. But once with my daughter, once for things I'm thinking about, and then, once with my wife. And that's usually how I mentally prepare myself. And I go to bed. And I also try to remember, too, something that, I try to have to keep in my mind all the time. And my co-founders, some of them have told me that I didn't have that luxury last year or the year before. And that's this. You have a team. So don't think you have to do everything by yourself. And don't think that if some things don't work out, that it's going to be the end of you. Just know that there's always ways you can fix things. There's always ways you can come back, and just keep that in mind constantly. Remind yourself. And also notice when it happens too. Like I told you of several before we started this podcast, several recent successes that we've had, and that kind of reminds me, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It might not end beautifully like you'd want it. There might be some roads that are a little circular, or they're kind of like they're detours. But as long as we get to the ultimate goal, and that is to make many, many women incredibly healthy, both physically, nutritionally, and mentally, and help our trainers, especially those that either been out of work or those who have been looking for work, really feel like they finally have their place.
Yeah, that is sound advice for any entrepreneur, anybody, right? Like, it's not the end of you when something goes wrong, and that you have a team. I think that was very insightful to learn to farm off or delegate or automate so that you can multiply yourself, so that you can free yourself to work on your genius zone, per se, what really you're really good at. And that's really good advice to know that you're not alone. You have a team. And all of us need to know that, even like we have friends and family, that to help offload some of our heavy burden or heavy load, for lack of better words. And so that's really nice to know and to hear it from another founder, that it rings true to have that. Tell us about where we can connect with you. Where can we find you? Where can we get that app when we're launching as well?
Sure. So cool thing is, I'll start first with DomumGym. Our link is https://DomumGym.com. So DomumGym is spelled D as in dog, O as in Oscar, M as in Mike, U as in uniform, M as in Mike, G as in golf, Y as in Yankee, M as in Mike again. Basically, it means home gym in Latin. So you can find us pretty much everywhere. We're not yet on the App Store as an app. We are working on that. We pretty much laid the groundwork to end up on the Google Play Store. And then on the Apple Play Store, we're working on getting on that too. So stay tuned for that. But feel free to go on to our waitlist page and sign up. We're currently going through a free trial. We anticipate that the app will be ready soon. We did talk about this before we started the podcast. Basically, we got a good deal of tech stuff that we got to figure out, but we're well on the way.
Perfect. What about some social media handles? Are those the same names?
Not exactly. So DomumGym LLC is our Instagram handle. Feel free to like us there and tell all your friends. DomumGym 2021, I believe, is our Facebook. And then we also have our DomumGym community. Feel free to like those as well. And then, of course, on LinkedIn, I've really been proud of our growth there. We're just DomumGym. So you can find us on LinkedIn.
Very
and you can
nice.
find us on LinkedIn too. Luc-Rikardo Feast. So, I'll accept connections from everybody. I'm that type of guy. So I don't mind at all. And I'll always be more than happy and open to help folks out whenever they.
Very nice. Thank you, Luc, so much for sharing. It's been such a joy having you on. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you too, Doctor. And I'm super excited to see all the great work you're going to do as well.
Awesome.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time.
Hey, music fans! There are some great concerts headed this way. Don't miss out on all the shows in your favorite venues like Deftones at Madison Square Garden, Eagles at the Sphere, and Foster the People at the Ryman Auditorium. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Head to LiveNation.com to get your tickets now. That's LiveNation.com.